Okay, yeah. Welcome to the Brandon McManus Lookalike Podcast here on That's Good Sports. The Deep Open V. I'm Brendan Perna here with Will Keys, who is sober for all of October.
That's right. Hey, V for victory.
That's a mocktail.
Mm-hmm.
Today's episode of That's Good Broncos podcast, That's Good Sport, whatever the fuck I call it, is sponsored by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. So if you want to download it, you got to use code DNVR to get all of their great sign-up bonuses. More on that later. Also, if you're in the DNVR locker looking for merch, use the code PERNA to get a discount. Use the code PERNA if you want some of that sweet Philip Lindsay shirt, those Denver Nuggets shirts that are not Nuggets shirts per se, but they look like similar. I think
it's not. Yeah,
it's Nuggets adjacent,
and not the way that some people tweeted it.
Right.
Not that kind of Nuggets adjacent.
Yeah, not D-Mac Nuggets adjacent, not – who's the other guy who did it?
It's the Charlotte Hornets announcer, I think.
Yes.
Their play-by-play guy.
Yes.
Fuck.
Well, it is the midweek Broncos podcast. We've got the Chiefs coming up on Sunday. We'll save most of that like preview type shit for our Saturday prediction episode. Today, I read that Broncos fans rank amongst the least complainy fans on internet. They complain not a lot, supposedly. I want to talk about that. Some of the dropping issues for Broncos ball catchers, Le'Veon Bell going to the Chiefs, if that will impact this game. Maybe give a little love to Garrett Bowles today. I don't know. We'll talk about some football things, I think. I don't know.
Maybe.
What do you know, Will?
Look, I love football. That's what this podcast is about. I'm excited to talk about football and only football. Let's go.
Yeah, I think Sober October is really hurting Will. It is noon his time. He's usually drunk by now and has already written me 3 scripts.
My third martini.
Yeah. Do you ever write drunk?
No, not really. No, I'm not going to say I haven't before, but it's not a common practice.
Yeah. So,
at this stage in the game.
Was it Hemingway who was always drunk?
I think he was drunk roughly 23/7, maybe an hour a day where he wasn't.
23/7.
I remember when I was living in Ireland and I was still working with Chad. And so there's a big time difference. And so I think before I went out to the bars, he would send me something to do real quick. And so then definitely, yeah, I'd be drunk and pop together like 250 words. But it's kind of like that thing where you're so conscious of what you're writing that you actually proofread better. Put out a cleaner story. So.
It's like if you're driving after you've had 2 beers.
Right.
You're under the legal limit, but you're scared, so you do your absolute best driving.
Yeah,
not that we would ever condone
exactly what it's like.
Having that, but
yeah,
we're no Melvin Gordons over here.
Pretty much the best segue you could have done.
Yeah. No, sometimes when I'm having a whiskey at night, I'll pop back into a script and bang out a paragraph. I'm like, this is gold. And I think it's the confidence of the whiskey. I don't know how often I look at it in the morning and I'm like, this is not very good. Versus maybe you should be drunk more when you write.
Well, let's do a week where we try it out and kind
all
of
drunk writing.
Yeah.
Reshape the whole channel to just we only make content if we're above the legal limit.
The only thing I think I've been like almost like over the limit at least for this show was probably the NFL draft. I think that was about it. Maybe when we watched The Longest Yard too.
Oh yeah,
You have to be drunk to get through that.
that failed experiment.
Pretty fun though.
Pretty fun. Yeah, so there's not a ton of like crazy Broncos news happening right now. The Raiders, Trent Brown, they put on the COVID reserve list, but since they had their bye week, they might have avoided like a spread there for the Raiders. And they're playing the Buccaneers this weekend, I think in prime time. So that could be an interesting game. The Broncos got the Chiefs. Bortles was released, but then re-signed to the practice squad. So Blake Bortles is back, right?
Can't keep a good man down.
TJ Ward released from Arizona's practice squad. So if we're just, periphery Broncos news. And Aqib Talib had Wade Phillips on his podcast this week. And I like to think our question about Wade Phillips must have prompted that. Talib must have been like, you know what? I really do fucking like Wade Phillips. Let's get him on the podcast. So
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah. All right. But there was I think it was a CBS survey, and it ranked the Broncos 24th as a fan base that where they complain. So they were between the Saints at 23 and the Chiefs at 24. The top 5 teams were Dallas, New England, Buffalo, Chicago, and Philly. In that order, Dallas being number 1. So my first thought was respect to Bills fans for being the only small market team to crack the top 5 for most complaining fans. I think that's like internet complaints, bitching about bad calls, refs, feeling sorry for yourself. Because the Cowboys, the Patriots, Chicago, Philly, those are all pretty big market teams. So I have to assume that there's just more people out there bitching. I don't know if it's factored in.
Is it bitches per capita?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or percentage of comments which can be construed as bitch worthy?
Yes.
I'm curious about the data here.
I don't like to look into the data per se.
It seems very subjective. And just from my experience, I come in Twitter or like the subreddit or really any sort of online forum. We are not strangers to complaining.
No, the last couple of years, I fire off a lot of complaints during a Broncos game.
Yeah.
I fire a lot of compliments as well. It's either over complimenting or really just taking the lowest sort of we are all doomed approach. I don't like any middle ground.
Right. We beat the Patriots last week in Foxborough, and I'm sure if you took stock of all the comments that were made, over 50% of them probably would have been complaints.
Yeah.
Which really should be the other way around, considering how much we've lost the last 4 years. But, I want to know the data. And then I guess I really haven't spent time being a fan of another team, so I don't know.
Yeah,
really.
I think –
does everyone just is this like an average amount of complaining for our team, or is it really that low compared to other fans, which it might be?
Yeah, I don't know. The bottom 5 teams were the Bucks, the Jags, the Titans, the Colts, the Rams. So those are all smaller market teams, or at least small fan bases. The Rams aren't a small market, but they don't have a big following. The Colts, after Andrew Luck left, after Peyton Manning left, really kind of dwindled in popularity. Luck kept him afloat, but I don't look at them as like this big market. And the Bucks, I think the Bucks can climb back higher if they keep winning games. But when you are on social media during a football game, I think you would agree that every fan base is equally great at complaining through the duration of a football game. unless your team's just kicking the shit out of their opponent. Then it's mostly shit talking, towards the team you're destroying and dismantling.
Yeah, I mean, you can really there's a few different types of complaints. Complain about the refs, usually when you're losing or in a close game. Complain about your own team, usually when you're getting the shit kicked out of you. I guess you can complain about the other team too. I mean, you complain oh, the announcers are sucking the other team's dick. This, that, or the other. Why'd they get to sign Le'Veon Bell? Blah, blah, blah. When is, how does that utility belt fit around Andy Reid's waist? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Plenty of things to complain about.
Plenty. I mean, I wonder how many complaints came in this weekend when Joe Buck and Troy Aikman assaulted America.
Oh. Man, that was hard to hear. As someone who loves flyovers, someone who respects the troops and the military-industrial complex, it was a disgusting act by Joe Buck and Troy Aikman.
Yeah.
And I'm embarrassed that we had to have it live over our airwaves. On
Fox, of all places, too,
On Fox.
People calling for them to be fired. It is.
I don't think that's severe enough.
No. You ever been at a game when those jets fly over? If you're not really standing for that, you will be in two ways.
How could I ever talk shit about flyovers when I was at that game where the Jets flew over the Raiders Broncos when Chris Harris got that pick six?
Ooh, yeah.
And it slightly contributed to the play. And Raiders fans were complaining about it, and I was like, well, what are you gonna do?
Really?
I love our country more than you.
What the NFL needs, especially this season, is strategic flyovers for the home team. Yes. So the coach needs to be able to call into the booth in the fourth quarter when the other offense is on the field trying to, do a 2-minute drive to come in and do a flyover. The play can't be heard, screws up the offense. It's like the missing home field advantage. I think that would be
when you string together enough first rounds, I think you should be able to call in that, sort of like an airstrike in Call of Duty. You get a 10 kill streak.
Right.
Something like that. I mean, it was a fair criticism by Buck and Aikman. And I think everyone was a little surprised that Troy Aikman, of all people, was that quick to stand Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Yeah, well,
I don't know that this
I don't know if he was. I took it as he was taking that as a dig against them.
Oh, really?
But, well, I mean, it's hard because at first he's like, that's a lot of jet fuel out there. And then Buck's like, that's your hard-earned tax dollars at work, which we learned those military flyovers are scheduled into training. So it's not an extra expense.
They're probably happening either
way.
Way.
That won't happen on Kamala Biden ticket. I'll tell you what, partner. I thought he was making fun of Joe Buck for maybe supporting him. I thought it was pretty ambiguous. But what I really liked is both sides tried to use it to spin to their favor. It was Joe Buck and Troy Aikman rightfully criticized this thing. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman are anti-America, you know what I mean? It was this weird sort of thing of a pretty harmless comment, I thought, that just blew up into this big story. I don't know. I thought my best joke in the last episode came from that, though.
Which one was it?
It was Joe Buck and Troy Aikman are the greatest threat to democracy in a booth since John Wilkes.
From downtown.
I think I thought of a better way to phrase that later, but I don't know. I was proud of that one.
Don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
Right.
Or even great. I mean, the thing about Joe Buck is this is the time of the year where we get Joe Buck overload, and it's even more pronounced now because – so think about it. We had Joe Buck on Friday and Saturday for the NLCS, Dodgers Braves. We get him on Sunday for Buccaneers Packers. We get him on Monday for Bills Chiefs.
Right.
We get him yesterday for the World Series, game 1 of the World Series. Getting him again tonight for game 2 of the World Series. Then tomorrow for
Thursday. Damn.
For Thursday Night Football, all the way until the end of the World Series.
That's pretty impressive.
It's really impressive. Also, I think we need a little more I think Fox might need to split it up a little bit. I think people like
give the dude a break. Good God.
The Bucklash is not as strong as it was a few years ago, but at the same time, I wouldn't mind letting someone else get a call every now and then.
Right. No, I mean
A little much.
I know, but Joe Buck's making a shit ton of money to do this, but that's to me that there's you need a lot of money to ask that much of my time.
Right. Yeah, I'm just like thinking about the map, and he's been going from Dallas to Tampa to Buffalo, back down to Dallas to either Philly or New York. I don't remember who's at home this week. Then back to Dallas. A lot of miles. A lot of miles.
In those
frequent flyer
torpedo planes,
Yeah, really. No, I would get.
Does he fly? He's got to fly private. They got to private jet him around for that shit, right?
Yeah, I assume he gets to ride on, the special Fox jet in the sky.
Yeah, the hardest part would be like when you're doing a series in baseball and there's less players, so it's easier to know like all the players that are up there.
Yeah.
Football, though, I remember like trying to do some of the live games, and if you're trying to talk about a team you're not fully familiar with, you realize how many players you don't know on that team. So like just trying to learn and keep up with all the players on each team, and with roster turnovers, like that's a tricky fucking job. So respect to Joe and his liberal bleeding heart.
Have you ever thought about doing play-by-play anything? You ever tried it?
Thought about it in that, like, do I believe I could do it, or would I like to do that?
Yeah, sure. Either way.
I've thought about I'm the type of person who sees anything and it looks a little fun. I'm like, I would probably do that. Like, I have a NordiTrack bike. Like, I bought a NordiTrack bike for the winter because I've been riding my mountain bike a ton and I wanted to use it to stay in shape. And they have like these guided tours. You go through like the mountains or some shit. I'm like, I could do this. Meanwhile, like 6 minutes into it, I am sweating. I can barely breathe. And like these people are talking through the whole thing like it's nothing. But I'm like, give me a fucking week on these bikes. I could do one of these.
Yeah.
So I'm arrogant enough to think I could do play-by-play.
I'll do it.
Would you want to do it? You think you'd be good at it?
No.
So you're honest with yourself. I've lied to myself for 35 years about what I do well.
You ever do like the thing where you're playing Madden and you start to – because I did that as a kid and still sometimes now where I'm like playing Madden and I like announce the game like I'm Al Michaels.
Yeah.
For my own team. Yeah, it's like, oh, and he's gone.
Well, it's
stuff like that.
You need somebody to do it with, because trying to call the games live, I did it on YouTube for like a season with the Broncos, and I would do just the first half. And there's too much talking as one person. You need that balance of say what's happening with the play, let the other person comment on something more for the play. Say what's happening with the play, there's a whole dynamic in relationship there. But
that's why you have to really respect someone like Vin Scully, who announced baseball, which has the most downtime of any sport, by himself on the radio. Yeah. So you really just have to be talking the whole time.
Yeah, it's a lot. I don't even like doing these podcasts for 30 minutes.
Yeah. All right, well, let's keep it moving then.
All right, we got Jerry Jeudy. My question: are you worried about his drops? He's got 4.
Not really.
He's got 4 drops this season. Will.
Yeah. Well, as long as he's gonna drop a few passes. Like his thing in college wasn't like, he doesn't have bad hands, I don't think. Or he didn't have them at Alabama. But it's not really a selling point either. It's mostly the route running most of the route running.
Yeah. So the Broncos,
Agility.
I think it was Andrew Mason tweeted out, they have the most drops or drops per pass. So it's every 8 passing attempts, the Broncos are dropping a ball. And the average in the league is 14 and a half or some shit. So it's definitely a problem this year. Part of that, they've played with 3 different quarterbacks. So that might have a little bit to do with it. Also, there's a bunch of young guys out there. Albert O is, the big guy. We've talked about the drops, or you've heard people talk about the drops all week because he had 2 in the end zone that were – I would say 1 is bad and 1 was a decent play by the Patriots to swipe it out. But in the NFL, you should just be stronger than everybody. That would be my advice to Albert O. Just get stronger than everybody and – nobody will be able to knock the ball out of your hands.
I'm with you there. I also think aside from the 2 Jeudy drops in the first game against the Titans, those are just bad drops caused by lack of focus, turning up the field too quickly. But if you look at the 4 drops on or how many? I don't remember how many 3 drops they had on Sunday.
There was 4 or no 3. Drops. Technically, they gave him 3. They only credited Albert O with 1 drop. I would give him 2, but 3 to 4, debatable.
Yeah. They're also tough catches too.
Yeah.
And in the NFL, the definition of drop is very broad too. It's not just wide open and the ball hits off your hands like that. Like that guy in the Cardinals on Monday night who dropped that Andy Dalton interception. It's not like that. It's even that Deshaun Hamilton drop, which was the most obvious drop of them all. That's still a really, really tough catch to make, but still one that you should make.
Yeah.
As an NFL wide receiver.
When you look back when you look back at Hamilton, you're impressed that Locke was able to sneak that ball in there because it was Gilmore in the coverage there. His hand comes basically right across where Hamilton's looking to make the catch. So I think you just get distracted by this hand, and you're probably thinking that hand is going to hit the ball away, and then all of a sudden the ball is right on your fucking chest. But, that's the kind of play that you
It's
see.
almost too good of a pass to catch.
Right. It's if you watch a lot of football, you see guys like DeAndre Hopkins just always make those catches. You're just and as a Broncos fan, you're hoping this group of guys can get there. You're thinking if Cortland Sutton was out there, he makes that catch. You saw Tim Patrick basically make every catch that came his way in this game, except for the one that got intercepted. And I want to talk about that interception a little bit, that second one. Looking back at it, and I know I've ripped Shermer for this, and I've got it in the prediction episode, but Jeudy was pretty wide open on that play on the left side, and Hamilton had a couple steps on his guy, and I don't know if the double coverage syncs up because they see that's where the direction of the ball is going, but it looks like Drew Lock had better options on that second throw for sure. I don't know if he just tried to force it to Patrick because Patrick was the only guy fucking catching balls that day or what. Yeah,
I mean, that happened earlier too where it seemed like Jeudy was open and then walked through kind of in a tight window to Albert O in the end zone. It seems like kind of one of his problems. And I'm one of those people who wasn't discouraged by the game on Sunday. Probably even encouraged a little bit because I think those things are going to get out. But, sometimes he locks on to a receiver a little bit when you know that he is capable of going through progression.
That was his 8th game or 7th game?
Yeah.
It's just
something like that.
it feels like we've been waiting for Drew Lock for years now.
Hmm.
First
No,
half of last
absolutely.
season, he was hurt. Then he gets hurt this season. Now we get to watch him play a little bit. Okay, so the Chiefs rushed the ball all down the Bills' throats on Monday.
Hmm.
Actually, before I get into Le'Veon Bell, let me do a little bit of DraftKings for that ass. I think that's what DraftKings wants me to say.
That's their official
DraftKings
slogan.
for that ass. Week 6 of football is in the books. Now it's time to review the tape and get ready for week numero 7. And there's no better place to get in on all the action than with DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. To add to the excitement of Week 7, DraftKings Sportsbook is bringing back their can't-miss offer, just like me on that John Wilkes Booth joke. If you haven't tried DraftKings yet, go to the App Store, you idiot, and download the app. That's all you have to do, and use code DNVR. And DraftKings is giving all new users the chance to earn a sign-up bonus of up to $1,000. Also, UFC 254, 254 is happening, this weekend? Fight Island. If you want to get in on some of that action, you can do it through DraftKings. Remember, DraftKings safe, reliable, secure, making it easy for you to deposit and withdraw money at your convenience. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code DNVR when you sign up to get up to $1,000. That's code DNVR to sign up to get the bonus of up to $1,000 for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. You must be 21 years or older. Colorado only. Bonus is comprised of a first deposit bonus and a first bet match, each up to $500. Deposit bonus requires 25 times playthrough. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call my mom. Just kidding. 1-800-522-4700. All right, Le'Veon Bell. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, your favorite running back in the NFL, 161 yards against the Bills. This is just days after the Chiefs signed Le'Veon Bell, which I get why the Chiefs would add him. Andy Reid said, when we see good players, we don't pass up on them. Why were your eyes closed for so long?
I was just trying to show my
Envision.
frustration. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought I was putting you
Trying
to
to
sleep.
No.
Okay, good. The Chiefs don't need Le'Veon Bell, is my point. But how much do you I don't expect him to be used a ton this weekend against the Broncos, just because he's just getting to Kansas City.
Right.
But then again, maybe Andy Reid features him because he's Andy Reid and he does something, I don't know, creative. What do you what do you think is going to happen? Do you think that was a smart move by Kansas City, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a smart move to get Le'Veon Bell for cheap if you can.
Oh yeah, they got him for so cheap too. Fuck.
Yeah, I mean that's the kind of things you get to do when free agents identify you as a team that has a really good shot to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
that's just kind of the opportunities you get. It's a case of the rich getting richer. It doesn't feel like when the Warriors added Kevin Durant. He's not that good. He's not going to be that kind of difference maker for them.
no.
But it feels like when the Warriors signed DeMarcus Cousins, someone who hasn't been good for a while, but you're like, oh shit, if he starts playing like he did his first 6-7 years in the league, we're going to be in trouble. And you feel like he's in the right situation to do that. So yeah. I don't know. He could have a minimal impact and prove that he really hasn't been the same guy since before he held out with the Steelers. Or he could just have 10 touches and average 8 yards a touch.
Yeah.
That could happen too.
I feel like we're going to see that.
I think they're going to use him really efficiently, and it worries me.
Yeah, it would, I think the Broncos offense will be like that in maybe a year, where there's just a ton of talent there and they don't need to add another piece. But if they did, you'd be super excited as a fan. And yeah. I think that's what Bell sort of brings there. It's like I don't know. It just feels like if he has the hot hand, it is a no-brainer. The Chiefs can just lean on him on weeks where maybe their offense is struggling a little bit, kind of like it was against Buffalo in that first half. It's just another tool to fix your scoring problem on weeks where you're not at 30 points by, the second quarter or whatever. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a huge deal this weekend against the Broncos, and I actually like the Broncos' defense against Le'Veon Bell and the Chiefs trying to run it. Like, I think the Chiefs are going to have to throw it to beat Denver. So I'm scared about that, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch.
It's not the runs that really scare me.
Throwing to him out of the backfield.
Yeah, it's the little slip screens and how well they block them.
Nobody runs screens better than the Chiefs.
No, and somehow no one runs them worse than Denver.
Yeah, that's fucking
We haven't had a successful screen in since like no Sean Moreno. I think that.
Yeah.
What's the deal with Mitchell Schwartz?
I don't know. He's a little banged up. They lost Kalichi Osemele, right? He tore 2 ligaments, 1 in each knee or some shit. So the Chiefs line's a little banged up, and that's one reason like the Broncos D-line is playing very well, and so that's why I like this matchup in terms of stopping the run. And the Broncos aren't going to be able to maybe blitz the way they have been against the Chiefs. Like that over-aggression will hurt you against Kansas City, but
yeah, it seems like they do really like favor that A-gap blitz with Jewel or AJ Johnson.
Yeah, they've been using their linebackers to blitz a lot, which is fun to see. It's been a nice change. Yeah. So I'll be curious to see how Fangio approaches this schematically. And by that, I mean it in the most like dumbed down way possible. I'll be like, oh, he blitzed a little bit and the Broncos only lost by a little bit. So that was pretty good.
Can we like figure out, I don't care like who scores in the red zone as long as it's not Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
Just watching the Bills leave him single cover in the red zone was just like death by paper cuts, it felt like.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Like, I don't know, like Tyreek Hill, they're going to give him the little touch pass like they have his whole career and probably score that way, or a little dump off to Edwards-Helaire. It's like those are the things like you have to be prepared for them doing, but like their first choice is to like throw that little button hook to Kelce.
Yeah, I'm tired of watching Kelce beat the Broncos.
It's been a while.
Yeah. I'd rather like Demarcus Robinson have 4 red zone touchdowns and lose that way.
I don't care if Byron Pringle has like 300 yards receiving.
Let Brian Pringle kill us. Don't give a shit. If it's like Essang Bassey blowing coverage on Byron Pringle, I'll be like, what are you going to do? It's our 4th corner who's a rookie. Like, whatever.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that I picked up on from that Bills game is they just weren't – that I think was different than the Raiders game is the Raiders kept a spy on Mahomes, and it felt like the Bills were encouraging or at least letting Mahomes like drift outside the pocket. And that's what you don't want to do because he can throw on the run as well as anybody. But if you make him like sit in the pocket and just kind of like go through his progressions like Brady, that's not his strength.
If you make him play like an old school QB, that's when he looks just good and not great.
Right, because he's not like a particularly fundamental quarterback.
No.
He's not like the prototypical drop back quarterback. Like the trouble is like when you think he's about to like scramble like right to the line of scrimmage and go over, then he like throws a little pass on the run to whoever. Or that thing that keeps happening is he runs like down the sideline and kind of like stops a little bit before going out of bounds, and the defenders let up, and then he just keeps going because he knows that people are afraid to hit him.
That's smart.
Because they probably should be.
Play.
Yeah, I think someone's just got to like I'm not advocating for violence here or injury. I would never do that. But
Just
I think
need to
someone
pop him.
gotta like hit him on the sideline when he does that. And if you get a
Yeah,
flag,
you get a flag, you get a flag, but you stop him from doing that probably ever again in that game, right?
Yeah.
It's like you sacrifice 15 when he's probably going to pick up 15 extra yards after he stutter steps you and makes you look stupid.
Right. Yeah. It's like a no, you're totally right. Yeah, it's worth the 15 at the time. It makes sense.
Unless
or maybe he doesn't go out of bounds, and
it might not be a penalty
that.
if he does stutter step and you hit a clean shot on him. Okay, so the Chiefs in their 2 games where they looked beatable, Buffalo and the Patriots.
Oakland or Las Vegas?
Las Vegas, they actually lost. They scored 30 in that game. But their 2 lowest scoring games were Chiefs and Bills. They scored 26 points. The Broncos have only scored more than 26 points once this year, twice last year. Do you think enough clicks on the Broncos offense? Because I think the Chiefs defense is better than the Patriots defense right now. Do you think the Broncos can score more than 26 points?
Yeah, because I think the Broncos played well enough on offense to score like in the 30s against the Patriots, who are a better defense than the Chiefs. It's just a matter of turning those drops or those like really tight, incomplete passes and having those even out and making plays in the red zone. They do need to figure out – I think they get stuck in the red zone and they don't really give Locke a lot of help. Right now, I think the offense is relying on Drew Lock to make a play rather than making the play easy for Locke.
Yeah, that's what
Kansas City does so well for Mahomes is they set him up.
Yeah, that's a great example.
So well to be a point guard, and they kind of just look at Locke and they're like, all right, make a great throw here, or get out of the pocket and make a great throw on the run. And you want to see both. Like if he has to, he'll make a great throw, but they also don't like make things easy on him enough like kind of the Chiefs do, or
you
look at any good offense and they mix it up like that.
I feel like Andy Reid's got like 50 plays between the 10 and 20 and then 50 separate plays from the 10 to the goal line. It's easy. There's not even throws. There's pitches to jet sweeping fucking players. It's crossing routes where you get guys open to give your quarterback that easy throw. The Bills aren't a good example because Travis Kelce just ran to the corner and was wide open for some reason on like one of those touchdowns. It was a great throw by Mahomes, but if the Broncos can do something better, it is making plays easier for their quarterback in the red zone with some creativity. And it's like, maybe that's like halfway there and we're not seeing it because Drew Lock is only throwing like the hard passes there, but I don't really buy that. I think with a young quarterback, if you're a good offensive coordinator worth your fucking paycheck, you are making his life easy when he gets there. You see it with Jared Goff, right? You see it with Jimmy Garoppolo. It's these good coaches putting their quarterbacks in positions to succeed when they are in the area to score. Like Drew Lock throwing long touchdown passes, if they make that a couple of those work every week, that's awesome. But you're not going to win games consistently until you can score consistently once you're actually in the red zone. So, and also that probably one of the better teams at tightening up in the red zone is the Patriots defense. So I think the Chiefs too might be, decent at that, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens this weekend. I'm excited for this game, and 2.5, 3 weeks ago, I wouldn't have been. I'm not saying I don't know if the Broncos can win, but I feel like they can be competitive. And after like week 3, I thought there might be a chance they're never competitive again for this century.
Right. Yeah. And going back to the red zone thing and why the Scangarello thing kind of irked me a little bit, just because like my favorite part about him was how he designed plays in the red zone. You look at 4 of Drew Lock's 7 touchdown passes last season. 4 of them were just like really easy throws inside the 5-yard line.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like there's been any of those this year.
No.
Like the one touchdown pass he had was an insanely difficult throw. And they just don't scheme guys open. Like you've got guys like, you'll get KJ Hamler back, hopefully Deontay Spencer too, but take guys like that and why don't you give them the little jet pass or at least like put them in motion and fake something and just keep the defense off guard rather than making Locke go through like 4 different progressions while he's sitting in the pocket. Cut the field in half. Like put some pressure on the defense for once.
Yeah, and I think maybe getting, Melvin Gordon back before he gets suspended, that's something like he's a good weapon as a throwing target in the red zone. And I think Phillip Lindsay should be too. Phillip Lindsay was playing great that last game. But I think specifically like one of Melvin Gordon's strengths is in a shortened field, him getting open and getting that easy pass and letting him make that first guy miss where then he can sneak into the end zone for the touchdown. So, yeah, red zone offense. If it's better, watch out because I guess we'll see where this defense truly is against Kansas City. The Patriots offense sucks. Like their offensive line also banged up. They have nobody to make fucking plays. Chiefs are a different story, but I like the Broncos defense right now. It is a scrappy unit that if they slow down the Chiefs, they're going to turn some heads. They're going to turn some heads, Will.
They will. Yeah, I mean, I don't like any defense against the Chiefs offense, to be perfectly honest. But the thing about the Chiefs-Broncos dynamic right now is that we've kind of gotten over the embarrassment of losing every time we play them to the point where it's going to be vaguely orgasmic when we finally do win, which it will happen eventually. I don't know if this season or the next season, but the law of, probability would state that it is bound to happen at some point in our lifetimes. So that's the thing is like we've kind of gotten over the embarrassment stage of it. And now it's just like, now the pressure is on the Chiefs. There's no pressure on the Broncos to pull off the upset.
It's building up basically like when the Broncos were undefeated against the AFC West with Peyton Manning. Yeah. I think they were in their 3rd straight season of doing it, and then the Chargers upset them on Thursday Night Football. The Broncos got to be they're due for one of those games.
Yeah, I think so.
And I like it this week.
You expect it to happen
later in the season.
Right. And, yeah, you expect it to happen at home. Obviously, last year, I think we put up like 13 points against the Chiefs, if that.
Yeah, at home. And that was the dislocated knee game, and then Matt Moore beats us. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you expect –
That was still Flacco, right?
That was Flacco at his limpest.
Yeah.
Maybe aside from last week. That might have been slightly limper Flacco. And then, the Drew Lock game last year in Kansas City, that's fine. Like, he played in the snow all game. It was his 3rd start. You don't expect much there. So I think this is kind of a prime opportunity. Although this game could be in the snow too.
Yeah, it's supposed to get cold here. Happy
it's supposed to be 27 on Sunday.
Statewide blow out your sprinklers day here in Colorado, which is what I'm going to do immediately following this podcast recording.
Yeah, meanwhile it's still like 90 degrees here.
Yeah. Both have unhealthy air quality to breathe though, right?
We've actually gotten better.
Oh, you guys got good air? We got bad air still. We still got got fires.
I think we sent it over your way.
Yep. Those fires are sexually transmitted.
That's absolutely right.
All right, well, make sure you come back Saturday for Will and I's Well, you'll just see my face, but Will really helps me write the prediction episodes. So Saturday. Or maybe Friday night. I think I'm going to try to get it up Friday night.
Who knows?
That's what she said. Good night and good luck.